Thank you very much. Good evening. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Told me I'm the real doctor. Anybody who's PhD here, no offense. You know, PhD is the real doctor. It's a great honor and pleasure to introduce Dr. Syed M. Saeed, who is a part of ISNA. ISNA is Islamic Society of North America. It's the largest organization in North America which represents Muslims from all over the world. Dr. Syed resumed responsibilities as National Director of ISNA's Office of Interfaith and Community Alliances in Washington, D.C. from March 2006. He obtained his PhD in sociolinguistics from the Indiana University at Bloomington, Indiana in 1984. As president of the Muslim Student Association of USA and Canada from 1980 to 1983, he pioneered its transformation into the Islamic Society of North America. And if you know the Muslims here, if you talk to them, that's a great asset for first generation, second generation, and I'm proud to say we already have like a teenager, third generation. They associate with this association. It's a great organization for us. So thank you very much for that. During 1984 to 1988, he was Secretary General of the International Islamic Federation of Student Organizations, in which capacity he traveled widely through the former Soviet Union, Europe, Africa, Asia, Caribbean, and South America. Dr. Saeed has been the General Secretary of the Association of Muslim Social Scientists, which is a national professional organization founded 31 years ago. Dr. Saeed, one of the founders of the Quarterly American Journal of Islamic Social Sciences, served as editor-in-chief 1984 to 1994. And something about him I found out today at lunchtime. He has 6 children, and 2 of his youngest sons are identical twins. And a Muslim father named them Jesus and Moses. That's a... So he not only talks about and has friends for interfaith, I think he lives interfaith relationship. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Saeed.
Good evening and Assalamu alaikum. I'm sure that all of you believe in the power of prayer. Do you? Yes. But that's very different. I heard that there is a church in Texas, a Baptist church, and then in the neighborhood, suddenly someone built a casino there. And these people, they hated it. So the casino was a big casino, attracting large number of people every day, and the church congregation, they didn't like it. They cursed it, they hated it. And after some time, the church was burned to the ashes. They didn't know who burned it, what happened. So the casino owner, he took the church to court, and he said that this church was burned by this congregation. So in the court, they asked, how did they burn? Said because they were all the time, they were praying against us. So the church people, they said, no, we never wanted it to be burned. We have nothing to do with burning this church. But the owner of the casino, he insisted. So the judge, he said, I am surprised. What should I do? Those who believe in the power of prayer, they are denying that it was not burned because of their prayer. And the owner of the church, the owner of this casino, who does not believe in God or anything, but he insists that it was burned because of the because of the prayer of the congregation. He said, I cannot give any judgment because this is matter of faith, matter of religion. So I'm glad that you believe that it is the power of the prayer that we circulated that brought you here ultimately. Is that true? Now, what is prayer basically? We have a saying of our Prophet, La yuraddul qada illa bid-du'a, that there is only one thing that can change destiny, and that is through prayer. Prayer can make miracles happen. And at times when we don't have any other source, any other resource, any other means to change what we don't like, we go turn towards God and ask Him to help with His unlimited, infinite power over His creation. He is the one who we believe can make things happen. Now, we are talking about the Muslim community in America from coast to coast. How do they believe in this? How do they allow these things to happen, that a Jewish, Christian, and an Islamic leader can get together and jointly develop an understanding and a moral vision? This is what is actually at stake. We don't know how many Muslims are in America, but we are thankful to President Obama, who gave a recent lecture in Cairo. He said there are 7 million Muslims in America. And we are glad that we can quote him now, because in because in the census, they don't ask, are you a Christian, are you a Jew, or are you a Muslim? So we have only to speculate. And we have one of the ways is to calculate how many are these congregations we have, how many attend those congregations, then multiply that, and then extrapolate how many are not coming to the congregation, and then you can. So it sounds a very, a correct number, 7 million of them. So we did not have these centers. Today we have about 2,500 Islamic centers and mosques in this country. We did not have them 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Our organization, which is the oldest and the largest, this is our 46th year in America of its existence. It was started as a Muslim student association, because in 60s and 70s we had millions of Muslim students coming to America, because many Muslim countries were becoming independent. The first thing that they were doing was to send students for higher studies in America. So it was out of this community of Muslim students was born Muslim Students Association of US and Canada. I also came from Kashmir, disputed territory between India and Pakistan, up in the Himalayas. I came to this country to do my PhD, and when I found here that we have Muslim students in unprecedented numbers for the first time in this country, I thought that it was a historical opportunity to further reinforce this organization. I became its president, and we transformed it into Islamic Society of North America. And today we are proud of the existence of such a vibrant community organization with several hundred chapters and organizations throughout the country. I have come to this city here many times. We are very thankful to the hospitality that St. Louis provided us. We have a convention every year. We had 2 conventions in St. Louis, and each time we brought together about 20 to 30,000 Muslims from all over the country. It was amazing. At that time, if you walked in the streets of St. Louis, you would read there, "Welcome to Islamic Society of North America." What a tremendous hospitality. The Chicagoans and Washingtonians had to, they had to rise to the standards that you provided for them. It was wonderful. Last week we had the same convention in Washington after 7-8 years. Every year we hold it in different places, only there are few convention centers which can accommodate such huge number of Muslims. Now, this is something very unique. That's why it is critical to this whole discussion. For the first time in America, we have the emergence of an Islamic community which is experiencing freedom, which is experiencing a relationship of partnership, where we can sit together as equals and discuss Islam, discuss Judaism, discuss Christianity, and discuss what role we have to play in a pluralist democracy. So therefore, we have certainly benefited from that. Can you help me? Yeah. So this is the intrusion of the outer world.
That's interfaith cooperation here.
That's true. So this is not available to our counterparts in Europe. There are about 5 million Muslims in France. They landed there because France ruled, controlled, occupied North Africa and Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia. And there was a bloody freedom of war. France and Algeria, and ultimately France had to get out of Algeria, and in the process 5 million people landed in France. So therefore their relationship with the French people is very different from your relationship with us. Your relationship with Muslims and Christians and Jews, it's a totally different relationship. It's a relationship of mutual respect. Here in America, it is not available in those countries. History is different. People are different. Host communities are different. They are full of prejudice, discrimination, religious bigotry, and so on. So we opened our eyes, established these centers in America at a time when America was going through a major transformation, where Christianity was redefining itself with respect to Judaism, where Christian sects within themselves were redefining each other. Protestantism was recognizing Catholicism. Catholicism was interacting with Protestantism in a new environment. And it was the Vatican II which revolutionized the whole concept. For the first time, redefined who killed Jesus and who are the Jesus killers. It was for the first time that they came to terms that Judaism is actually the origin of Christianity. Just like we believe that Judaism, Christianity, Islam are a continuation of the same thing. When we pray in our mosques, we mention the names of Abraham, Moses, Jesus. So it is not just a joke that in my own family, when we got the twin sons, we named them Jesus and Moses. When we were giving farewell to Dr. John Borelli, director of Interfaith Dialogue in the U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops, so he was leaving the Conference of Catholic Bishops, and he was going to Georgetown University. And all of us were sad, and I had to give this farewell to him. So I said that we are very sad today that John is leaving the Council of Bishops, and he is going to Georgetown University, which is a Jesuit university. As a Catholic, he must be very happy. And I am particularly happier because John is a good Christian. He is going to Georgetown University. And I am happy that it is in Georgetown University where he will meet Jesus. So John was happy. Everybody was happy, but they didn't realize when I added one more sentence, but the Jesus that he will meet in Georgetown University is not the Son of God. He is my son. Because he was a student in Georgetown University at that time. So what is critical for us to understand that these three religions have so much in common, and over the centuries that commonality has been shrouded and clouded by politics, by mutual exploitation, colonialism, slavery, by different imperial encroachments where the truth and the global overlapping of these religions was totally under cloud. It is here in this pluralist democracy where we are able to sit together and discuss these inner principles of Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. So it's exciting, it's wonderful to discover it and to discuss these things. It was easier for us, as for me particularly, because I had the responsibility of leading this major Islamic organization in America, shaping its policies, understanding the environment, and trying to interact in a very healthy way, and helping this community of Muslims in America to play a constructive, positive role, and yet to be authentic, to be credible, to be connected with their roots, not just to liberalize everything and abandon what makes us as Muslims, but to continue on that. And I never found that there was any contradiction in that. So the prayer which binds us together within Islam is 5 times a day. We pray 5 times a day. There are certain special times when we have to meet. Wherever we are, we have to pray. Fasting, the second, pillar of Islam. The third pillar of Islam is giving what was it? First is the faith in one God, monotheism. Second is praying 5 times a day. Third is fasting 1 month, the month of Ramadan. And then we have this performing the pilgrimage. Did I say 5? Zakat. This is a common thing with the giving, the donation, the charity. These 5 are important things. But all the 5 pillars create a certain moral responsibility. It is inbuilt in those. I mean, problem would have been if we prayed among ourselves and that prayer created a wall between us and the rest of mankind, then we would have to demolish that wall. It would have been our first and foremost duty to do that. After 9/11, when Americans were getting worried, suddenly they were told that not only are Muslims in Pakistan and Saudi Arabia, but they are here in St. Louis. So the problem was, how do we deal with that? So Muslims were becoming nervous, what will happen? So I issued a request for all our people, for all our mosques, that henceforth, now onwards, our mosques will be mosques without walls. We should invite our neighbors to visit our mosques and see what we are doing inside, because we have nothing to hide. We should be the most transparent faith community, because easily Jewish and Christian people of faith, when they come to see us, they should recognize in us something that is dear to them as well, that we are a moral community. So the result is that in many centers, we issued this request that our neighbors should come to visit our centers, particularly on Friday, because we meet on Friday. We have Friday prayer on this congregational prayers. Believe me, the result was, in many cases, people started coming, and there used to be in our prayer more people of other faith than Muslims themselves. Because in some of the communities, we have very small communities. So it was the other people. So it was wonderful in that sense. So initially, we worked very closely with all different Christian denominations. My twin is National Council of Churches, because they are what we are for Muslims. National Council of Churches is an umbrella of various churches. Islamic Society of North America is an umbrella of various Islamic centers, Islamic professional organizations, and so on. But the problem was, what do you do with Jews?
It's no problem. We don't know ourselves.
The problem was that how do we establish this kind of relationship, this kind of dialogue, this kind of communication with Jews? Because there was an elephant in the room. And you know who that is. It was the issue of Israel. So the problem was, if Jews show up in our convention, or if we go to them I'm talking institutionally. Whatever I'm saying, I'm not saying as just an individual, but as the community, taking the community with us. So it took some time. So the issue was, I remember one interesting situation. I was invited by the U.S. This Council of Religions for Peace. They invited me to give a keynote address to one of their conferences in Chicago. So I was there, I spoke there, and then at the end, all of the people who were there, they came, they were hugging me, they were congratulating me, they were expressing their happiness at whatever I had said. So, and the others were taking pictures. So one of the persons who came and shook hands, congratulated me for what I said, hugged me, and someone else was taking our picture. He caught his hand. He said, "No, don't take picture, because I will lose my job." He was a Jewish leader from a national Jewish organization. Because the tensions those days were that if a Jew is closer to a Muslim, perhaps he is sellout. He is doing something about Israel, perhaps. Or if a Muslim does something, he has forgotten the suffering of the Palestinians. So this was the mutual mistrust built in somehow. So I had celebrated the dividends and the imperative of the Muslim-Christian dialogue. I had established personal relationships with many Jewish scholars, individuals, leaders, but I was groping, how do we do with the organization, Islamic Society of North America and a Jewish organization? How do we do this? This was a challenge. From our side, we had no problem, in the sense that Christianity, Islam and Judaism are much closer in that sense. Both are monotheistic religions. Both have so many concerns and practices, and historically both have jointly established powerful civilizations, and like this Spain in Andalusia, Jewish, Muslim, Christian, pluralist society that flourished over there. But what do we do here in America? Everything is there in favor of us, but somehow this inhibition. So I started working. 4 years ago, I first worked with the Union of Reformed Judaism. So we met their various leaders. I talked to them. I said, look here, whatever is happening in the Middle East, death and destruction, if we watch that, a time is come, all those things are going to come here. We will have to raise these boundaries and walls the way that they are doing there. Or the other alternative is that we interact. We emphasize on our commonalities and build trust, confidence, goodwill, and use that goodwill to address the problems in the Middle East. And if you are ready, we should go ahead. So we spent a lot of time together, first with these leaders in New York, in Washington, D.C., at their headquarters. All of them seemed to be ready for it. And we took the first decision. We had the president of the Union of Reformed Judaism addressing our convention, 20,000 Muslims in Chicago. It was a landmark event in that. It became a world news. A Jewish leader addressing the major Islamic convention in America. It was beautiful. Then they invited us to address their convention in California. It was amazing. So the people had thought that when he addresses our convention, some crazy Muslim will stand up somewhere, will either shout at him or shoot at him. That did not happen, because we had worked hard to help our people to understand that from our religious point of view, everything is in favor of building these bridges. And for political and for American point of view, for human point of view, this has to happen. And people gave him standing ovation. And they did the same thing when we visited their convention. It was in San Diego. It was marvelous. This was opening the floodgates. Within months, conservative Jewish leaders came, visited our offices in our headquarters in Washington, D.C. They said, don't think that we are against it. We also want to do the same thing. So what we did besides these meetings, we jointly developed a program for synagogues and Islamic centers where they bring together the congregations, and we produce this book, Children of Abraham, for Muslims and Jews to use it together, and it has worked wonderfully. Then we had first conference in Belgium, first international conference of rabbis and imams. So 2 years ago, we had the first conference of rabbis and imams of America in New York. It was wonderful. When they were together, I was talking to all of them. Everybody is so committed, so passionate, building these bridges and creating a community of understanding and peace. They made certain recommendations, and we have implemented those recommendations. First recommendation was that we should bring imams and rabbis, ask imams to condemn anti-Semitism, ask rabbis to condemn Islamophobia. So jointly we made a PSA which was shown on CNN and other these channels. And jointly we had a full page ad in New York Times saying the same thing, rabbis condemning Islamophobia and the imams condemning this anti-Semitism. So we have built an environment here in this country. And this is a destiny. This is an imperative. We have reached a point globally where there is no other way but to go to our scriptures and see how our scriptures dictate this. Because Quran tells us clearly that it is God's design to have diversity. You cannot destroy it. You will be then destroying God's intention to diversity. And then Quran recognizes for us, Christians and Jews, that they are the Ahlul Kitab, the people of the book, and it is your duty to invite them and build common understanding for peace and justice. Okay, so we took a very powerful step 2 years ago when the Muslims issued this call to the Christian organizations. It's called a common word between us and you. 138 Muslims signed this invitation, and we send it to all different Christian leaders. And we got beautiful response, a total commitment. National Council of Churches committed itself to this kind of agenda together, and all different denominations. And we had a wonderful communication and hospitality in the Vatican, where Pope ultimately realized that this is the only way to go. We cannot turn back on this Vatican II. So what is necessary today is that power of prayer is tremendous. Because the prayer, it not only connects us with the ultimate, it helps us to create a moral vision. What do we want ultimately? I mean, is it the death and destruction of the other, or is it jointly taking everybody towards a common destiny? That's what is critical for. That's what these scriptures have said. And there is since over the last whole millennium, things have been going in different directions. We have to correct those things. We had a wonderful conference 2 years ago in Stony Island in New York. We jointly with National Council of Churches, with Jewish organizations. The idea was to look back at our scriptures and look how they promote or encourage this commonality and building of of a pluralist society and mutual respect. There are certain things which are problematic, but we have to deal with them, because there could be, in certain cases, there are certain references which are very localized. So we have tried in this to address those things. So you can imagine in this kind of environment, when we are slowly and gradually building that confidence, trying to take everybody along with us to create a new sense of commitment to our spiritual values, to our commitment to our Creator, and to commitment to our human family, there are lapses at times. There are vested interests, people who have lived a certain life. There are institutions, there are organizations, there are countries who are committed and who are reveling in this kind of environment. So we have to create a moral community who understand this imperative, who look forward, who look at the legacy but in a critical way. Exactly what the Catholics did. When Catholics looked at their history, they apologized to the Jews for what they had done to them in Spain. They re-evaluated the whole this history of crusades. You know how long crusades, this was the major war. How long did they fight against Muslims? How many years? 250 years. So does it mean that we should always, when we think of Catholics, we should think of crusaders? That's the problem of bin Laden and bin Laden's group. They are stuck in time. They only can remember the negativities of history. It is not possible for them to overcome history. We living in America, we have an opportunity to redefine, re-examine the history and see which portions of that history can help us to build a future which is good for not Muslims alone, not Christians alone, not Jews alone, but for the entire family created by God as trustees on this earth. So we will have things during question and answer, but I just want to introduce a couple of things. One is this book, if you want it, it is available electronically, but you will have to send me your email and I can send it to you. And it would be very useful for everyone who is involved in building bridges between Muslims and Jews. And then this book, I have brought about 100 copies. We didn't know that we will have, this is the, what is right with Islam is what is right with America. So I would like you to have a copy of this, and if there are still available, you are welcome to take, but try to maximize the readership so that, I mean, it circulates. Now, it is with an extraordinary pride and gratitude to God to express how strong I feel when I am with this Trinity here. We as Muslims don't believe, we believe in only one. But it is strength, it's tremendous. And God, when He wants to strengthen some message, wants to see that something has to gain strength, He provides the right kind of people who are inspired to move forward during the trials and tribulations. And I cannot recall, I mean, reconstruct to you how difficult you have seen. I mean, the bridges in St. Louis, a few years there was that flood here, and it had, how much damage it had done. So bridge is to join together the two banks of a river. And when there is a flood, which is the most, which thing is, I mean, at risk most? It is the bridge itself. I mean, first thing is the bridge gets washed out. So it is, first thing is the people who are working in bridge building, they get nervous because they have put those bricks together and they feel that this is the end of it. But if they have faith in God, if they believe this is God's work, if they believe that this is the final ultimate purpose of God to unite the human family and to eliminate all those things which divide us and which promote exploitation and mutual hatred, then the bridges will get stronger day by day. And this is our faith. Thank you. And this. I'm sorry. The common word between us and you, this also has a website. It is a common word. It is the document that the Muslims sent and the responses that we got from different religious leaders from the Christian community. Thank you very much.
Okay.